half straight years. And one day, because I would never move, I'd have people get me my wings or whatever I wanted. And one day, something forced me to move and get my own wings. Now, I took about 10, 12 steps, and on the ceiling, about 50 feet up in the air in this old dog track, was these probably about 10 foot around, 8 to 10 foot around, heavy gauge metal lamps, that lights that were hanging by one little like metal pole. Well, while one of them was right above me, and when I took about my 12th step and my back's to it, it let loose from the ceiling and fell straight down where I was standing. And if it would have hit me, there'd been nothing left of me to bury. And that was a cement floor. And when that hit from about a 50-foot drop, it probably weighed close to a ton, or half, or a ton, or 3/4 of a ton. And when it hit, Gary, it was so loud, and the ambient force and the kinetic energy that it gave off when it hit, I literally felt my soul leave my body, because it was so shocking. And when I turned around and realized what had happened, I couldn't even talk. I told my friend that I gave up gambling right there on the spot. Never came back. I did. I never went back. Never gambled again. If that wasn't a sign, I don't know what is.
Well, you're a good man. I would have peed my pants also, or something, else worse.
I was out of my body. I probably would have peed my pants. Let me tell you. Oh my God! I could still. Wow, that was incredible. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. But that was, whew, I can relate.
Well, another little story. One of my friends, Terry Morgan, he used to go ghost hunting a lot. He used to go to the cemeteries, up an old cemetery up by Federal Way, Washington. And he would go there at night. Didn't supposed to legally be there at night, but he was trying to, on his cassette. That tells you how many years back it was. Cassette. To try and get some ghostly sounds. And he said that he was walking around, and I guess, they put a tarp down over where they dug out the grave, or they're going to plant somebody the next morning. Mm-hmm. And he fell in it. Broken arm. And you know what? That's what I was trying to tell people. If you're going to go out ghost hunting, tell people, bring somebody with you, bring a cell phone, make sure because little things like even walking the cemetery at night, you don't know what you can step into.
That's true. And like you say, tell somebody where you're going to be, it's like, that way if you don't turn up in a certain amount of time, they can come looking for you or something, Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, maybe one of the departed bodies there, the spirits wanted him to join in, and
yeah, that's what I was worried about when I saw that. I'm telling you, I was so paranoid. I was like, I wonder who's going to come to me first. My buddy, hopefully he can hear me, or because there was some evil spirits in there big time, and I was just waiting for a boot to push me down that hole. It was something else.
Yeah, how did you get out of it?
He finally, my buddy, heard me. I mean, because at the time I weighed about 200, but even still, a 200-pound man that falls about 5 feet and catches himself by his elbows, that's a heck of because it just dropped. And I swear it about dislocated my shoulders, man. It was like, it was hurting. I couldn't even hardly lift myself. He had to help me up out of there. I was just trying to maintain myself from falling on down through the hole.
Yeah. I just thought of something, when I fell through that ceiling at that, the store in Tacoma that time, I'm lucky I didn't pee my pants because there was people down below.
Oh boy. It'd been raining pennies from heaven on those poor people.
Yeah, and then the owner of the building wanted me to pay for the damage because I fell through the ceiling. I was threatening to sue him, and he goes, "Well, you didn't have permission." I said, "Oh, yes, I had permission, but I don't know. I just."
That's crazy. In regards, should have had some signs up there like "Don't come in here" or something. I mean, enter at your own risk, or come on, he's gonna sue you for damages.
Now, I brought this up the other night when I had a psychic on. You know, she was talking about she does ghost hunting. You know, she's the one who, gets, the spirits and, the medium. And she was talking about, some of the weird places she was at and some of the things would tag along with her sometimes, the spirits, and she got scratched and punched and things like that happened to her. But, we were talking about, one of my friends, he used to be a friend anyway, was a paramedic for Tacoma Fire Department. And I got to know him real well when I was managing that store. And, he told me all the time, he says, you know how many men die in the bathroom? He said, you'd be astounded. You'd be in shock if you realize during the course of the week, when somebody, we go on a call, they died in the bathroom. Now, if that's really true, and I guess maybe it is because, maybe sitting down and doing your job and reading the newspaper, you could have a heart attack or, or whatever.
Well, you know what else I have found, at least in my area, a lot of people that do intravenous drugs, they get the drugs and they'll stop the first Speedway or whatever and go in the bathrooms or McDonald's and do their drugs. And a lot of people have OD'd in the bathrooms.
And died. And that's what I was trying to say to her. I asked that, well, do you ever check the bathrooms out? She never thought about that. And the reason why I'm saying that is, you go into an old house or you go into an old, an old manufacturing facility or an old prison even, you think in a prison, how many people got shanked?
Oh, yeah.
In the bathroom, in the showers and stuff like that. I think that would be a real rich area to get, some type of recordings or something.
You know what? You hit on something there because, let's see, which prison is it? I can't think. I can't think which one it was. Well, I've been to Eastern State, but I forget.
Now, wait a minute. Now, James, you've been at Western. Now, was that to check it out or as a guest?
That was to check it out. I wasn't a guest. It's been closed down a while. But that was to investigate. Yeah, it's been closed down a while. I think Capone was there. He was there for a little stint. And what happened, it's either that one or the one in Moundsville. There's a place where they would shower and stuff, and there was a lot of people that died in there for, like you said, getting shanked and stuff. And the energy and the interaction and the action you would get in there was more prevalent there than anywhere else in the prison. That you hit on a good point there, and it's true. It's true, and some of them is true anyway. I know from my experiences it's true, and some of them.
Well, I can honestly say I watched a lot of movies on TV, and a lot of people seem to get shanked in the bathrooms and the shower area.
Yeah, well, you're more vulnerable because you don't have much protection on. That's for sure.
Well, they can tell you don't have a shank, and they come walking in there, and you're naked. What are you going to do? Yeah,
that's a good point. It's do or die. I mean, there's a lot of. You brought up a good point there, and there's definitely a lot of energy. And you know that I'm going to tell you about that Eastern State in Philadelphia. I can remember several times coming down Interstate 70, going eastbound, and that prison, it's like a big black Gothic-looking prison. You can see it from miles away coming down that highway, and it just looms at you, like pulls at you. I mean, if anybody's got any psychic abilities, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's just doom. It's like you can feel it. It's just, it's palpable. I mean, it just is. And then when you step inside of it, oh Lord, you can feel it big time.
Well, how about the places, mental institutions? Have you been into many of those, checking those out?
Oh, boy. Let me tell you about one I've been into. It's not even there no more. It was in Connecticut. Matter of fact, it was now they've, I don't know the exact spot because this was like this was in the 80s. And what sits on the land today is the two biggest casinos in the world, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. And in that land, it was called the Devil's Ledyard or something like that. But there was an asylum there, and my friend, because I had a couple friends that lived in Massachusetts, one lived in Rhode Island, and they knew all the local lore and stuff that you don't see or hear about. You know what I mean? Stuff that's not real famous, but let me tell you something, just as potent or dangerous as any place. And of course, when I did it, I I was a little different. I did most of it by myself, but I don't know. It was hard for me to get people to go. And back then, it wasn't like now. It was on the down low. You know what I mean? And so I went to this place.
James, you just admitted you did it by yourself.
I did.
And here we're sitting there telling people not to do it by themselves. And
I'm telling you from experience, don't do it.
Okay, don't do it by yourself.
Yes, no, I'm guilty of it. Believe me, and there's no excuse for it. Even though it was the '80s and it was down low, and I couldn't find nobody to even have brave enough to stick with me. But I tried. But yeah, don't do it. Believe me, I'm telling from experience. Do not do it. And I did a few of them by myself, and this was one of them I did by myself, and it was an asylum, an old mental asylum, and I think they had some TB stuff there too, but it had been shut down for probably 30 years or so. I can't think of the name up for nothing. I'm going to have to look it up. But, man, I'm going to tell you, when I walked in there, I could hear things like falling over, and it was all dusty and dark. There was something in there so evil. I couldn't see it, but I know it was there, and it was like it felt, all the cliches. It was heavy in there, and there was stuff like, I don't know if it was throwing stuff at me or what, because it was so damn dark, but it was palpable in there, and I tell you, it got to the point it made me sick. It literally made me sick to my stomach, and after a while I couldn't take it no more. I was afraid I was going to pass off from just being sick and nauseous. It was so strong, this building of the evil in that place, and it was a scary place to be in by yourself at about 2 a.m. That's for sure. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't think I was thinking.
No,
but
you're more brave than I am, my friend. Wow.
I don't know if I'm brave or stupid, but anyway.
I didn't want to say that word to you because you're a friend of mine. I didn't want to say that.
I'm a little psychic. I knew you was thinking it. Oh goodness! I went to another place in Connecticut called Barrahack. Now it is one of the earliest settlements in Connecticut, or even all in New England. It dates back to I think early in the mid 1600s. It goes way back, but there's nothing left there but foundations, and it's a mile hike in the middle of nowhere to get there. And you got to find this path off a back road in the woods. So anyway, I was working this job, and I was the boss, and I had 3 guys working for me. And it was a weekend. Of course, I'm going to do my thing on the weekend, investigate. And, these people all knew what I did. The guys that worked for me, they'd tease me and stuff, rouse me a little bit. Because back then it was different, you know what I mean? It wasn't acceptable. So I called her rough one day because I said, look, y'all pretty good-sized guys. Y'all talking tough. Why don't you just come with me and just show me? I'll help you out, make sure everything's okay. I know what to do. And they said, okay, we're not, So we get there, and I'm a backwoodsman here from a mile. I know, hell, I can find anything in the woods. So I lead the way, and we get there. And I timed it just right, so it'd be dark when we get there, in the middle of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Get the whole ambiance of it, the sun's down. And I'm going to tell you, when you get in some of that thick woods, it's like virgin woods, it is dark. Gary, it is dark. I mean dark. Like you could barely see your hand dark. And that wasn't quite that way yet, but I knew we wouldn't be at that place very long. It would be like that. So we get there, found the place okay, about a mile hike in the woods. And there's the foundations and everything. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden, there is the most ungodly, noise. It sounded like if you took an injured rabbit and just took an injured rabbit and a riled up possum and threw them on somebody. The noises were ungodly. And I knew what it was. And I went to turn around to tell the 3 guys, and all I seen was elbows and backs, and they were running out of the woods. They were gone. We weren't there not 3 minutes. They were gone. I turned around to tell them, and they were running, gone. And you know what it was? It was the time. It was deer. There was deer in there. It was like near rut season. It was deer. Some deer can make some ungodly noises, and that's what it was. And these guys weren't from the woods or nothing. They didn't know, and I didn't even get a chance to tell them they was gone. So I'll tell you, I continued to investigate. It was a creepy place. There was all kind of noises I would see. I did get some EVPs, and I seen a few dark shadows like jaunting around, which is always spooky when you see 3 or 4 of them jaunting around and trying to hide behind trees and peeking at you and stuff. Like, what is going on here? And I'm a mile deep into the woods. I mean, a dark black woods.